Okay. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Gina.
Great seeing you again since last time.
Yes.
I think last time we got a little emotional,
Yeah.
and last time we focused on him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, most of it was a little bit like it's good to let him know how you're feeling, even though he wasn't here.
Right. Yeah. Getting it out was
Getting
good.
it out. Yeah. So I think this time I'd like to focus a little bit more on you.
Okay.
I'd like to focus a little bit more on maybe your thoughts, because thoughts can lead to emotions, and emotions can lead to feelings, and feelings can lead to behaviors, and behaviors can lead to those same thoughts again,
Right.
and you can get stuck in a do loop. And so let's take one issue and try to pull it apart a little bit, look at it and say, am I thinking good here?
Yeah.
And but just to back up a little bit, how you doing?
Okay. Holidays coming up. Well, we just had Thanksgiving yesterday, and he had the kids. There was well, the younger ones, the oldest one was with me. But I get them for Christmas, so we've already at least established some type of agreement of every other holiday. So
that is fantastic. That is already 2 steps ahead. Sounds like you're getting ready for what's coming.
Yeah.
Your divorce. Yeah. And how are the children handling that?
Like I said before, the 3-year-old, he's a little, I sense that all the kids feel some type of way about it, but maybe not be able to articulate it. So that's probably more the 3-year-old and my 7-year-old, because he has autism. And the 9-year-old and the 17-year-old, of course, may have some more understanding about what's going on. But they're still very, all their needs are being met. They're still excited about holidays and Christmas, and now we're putting on the Christmas music, so that's good. But I'm just really not feeling it, in the sense of, like, Christmas is usually my favorite holiday, and now I would normally have decorated and just have everything up, and I'm just really not feeling that. So it's interesting that you bring up the feeling thought thing, because it's happening.
Yeah. So have you been able to talk with the 7-year-old at least a little bit about? Have you used the word divorce? Have you said anything about this is what's happening now?
I have, and when I tried to explain it to him, he said, like, so I'm not gonna have a mom. So I really don't think that he understands. He's like, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna live here anymore, but I'm still gonna be your mom. And so he's just like, so he really doesn't get it. So that's kind of hard, but I think that's just because of his deficits with his learning anyway. So hopefully going forward, getting him more treatment and working on his focus, he might be able to eventually understand that, or at least once our schedules get regular after I am out of the home, he'll be able to understand that.
So the plan is for the younger children, or the plan is for all the children actually, to stay in the house?
Well, there's not a plan for that. We're both fighting for custody. So we'll see how that goes, but I just know that I cannot afford to live in that home on my own. So I already know that regardless of what happens, I'm gonna have to leave and find affordable housing for my budget.
Right. But he's planning on staying in.
Yes.
And whichever kids, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet until the custody battle goes forth.
Okay, so let's just think about you in terms of being a mother.
Okay.
So tell me your thoughts and feelings about you in terms of being a mother.
I feel like I'm a decent mother. you know, of course, everyone has this. Majority of us have the same struggle of being a working mom, and of course, there's just more things you would want to do, but with times being what they are, you just don't have enough energy, and then all the kids need something different from you, and I feel like I do my best. I try to give my kids realistic expectations. So if the 17-year-old has something that's coming up, and I'm just like, you know, either I can make it or I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna leave her in the maybe zone.
And the 17-year-old is his.
Yes.
And you've had her
Since she was 2.
Since she was 2.
Yeah.
So she knows you as mother.
Mom. Yeah.
And is mother, her biological mother, in the picture at all?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
She doesn't know her?
Last time she saw her mother is when she was 16 months. So I'm mom. So hopefully one day they will be able to establish some type of relationship.
And how old were you when you inherited a 2-year-old?
I met him when I was 17. Shortly after I turned 18. But I've always, you know, from that point, I've been in the picture. I mean, I didn't get married until I was 22, but by
Until
then,
you were a ripe
she was
old
still
age of
already
22.
mine. Yeah, she was still mine even before then. So, yeah. And then, but none of the other kids came, you know, like Ayana was only child for such a long time, like at least until 12 before the other children
Before
came.
you had a baby or before you adopted the other 2?
Before we fostered or adopted the other 2. So, yeah, so, you know, the youngest, you know, being 3, you know, she's, yeah.
So she has a real attachment to you. And of course your baby,
yeah,
who is now 3.
Yeah. But they still have relationships with their dad too. Like I say, I always want them to go freely between us. That's why there's some of the good part of us all still living together. That okay, I can go upstairs for mom, downstairs for dad. You know, but eventually it's not going to be that. So that's hard. And you know, you can feel sometimes because of the marriage not working. Sometimes I do feel like a failure parent or not a good enough mom sometimes with that, but you know.
Do they ever feel like you're not a good enough mom? Do you think?
I think, you know, definitely probably for the teenager. I mean, you know, they always get mad and have some type of outburst. But other than that, no one's expressed it. You know,
like a 3-year-old would do.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, other than just saying I'm not
the other 7.
Yeah, other than just saying.
The other one is how old?
7 and 9.
7 and 9.
So you know they'll get mad and I'm not your friend, and then they'll be back. You know, typical.
Right.
Age appropriate.
So tell me, what do you have? What about your core beliefs as in terms of motherhood and how it is for you now?
Could you ask it a different way, maybe?
Okay.
I'm kind of.
So I'm just wondering, when you say that you feel adequate as a mother. Do I get that right?
Yeah, I mean.
And you feel like your children feel like you're, you know, that's not one of the core problems that's going on in your life right now. Because I think when we mentioned, you know, like, okay, we're going to have you try to, the purpose of a lot of this counseling is to have you feel like as best as you possibly can during this tough time in your life.
So I think that I guess it has to do more with an identity because you're a wife and a mother.
Right.
And for me, it's been a package deal because I've had the relationship and the child came at the same time.
Right.
So, it wasn't one that was separate versus like I was just a wife and then we added mother. So I guess in that sense, I feel like a failure sometimes because the marriage has fallen apart, and it goes back to like knowing that I came from a broken home and I just don't want that for my kids, and there's just nothing I can do to fix that. So it's just, and then our parenting has changed. Like I said, I feel alienated from being a part of like, okay, of the group, you know. So that's just been difficult. And of course, finances and other things, take a part in that. Knowing that, I'll be on my own, for the first time in my life, and figuring out how to budget that, and being self-reliant. So it's just like, how can I foster these things that I haven't done before? It's just, I'm an adult, but then I have another layer of adulthood that I haven't gone through, and I'm getting ready to go through it. So I just, on this whole learning curve journey, and then still having to do all of that and be a parent.
So there are a lot of logistical things going through a divorce and having 4 children. And there are a lot of feelings that go with those logistical things, going through a divorce and having 4 children. And having to deal with the feelings that come from the tough situation that you're in. Those are the things that through talking about that maybe make you feel better. So I just want to capitalize on one thing you said before. You said you feel inadequate as a wife. You feel that, that you were actually made to feel inadequate as a wife. And so how do you know that? What are the things that either he tells you or that he shows you that you feel inadequate as a wife to him?
From the day that he decided to break up with me, he told me that I just wasn't being a partner, and I didn't see it that way. And then your mind just, it's weird how your mind just goes back to flashes of moments and things that have happened even before, and you're just kind of like, did he really say that to you? And you just took it like a grain of salt and didn't really like have an outburst about it or fight about it or anything like that, because I just don't like to fight. So maybe I avoided some things and didn't address some things, but that's kind of just seems like it's been the theme of, not being a partner because I'm not keeping up with his expectations. And life, people around you have expectations. Your boss has an expectation, and you're gonna get an appraisal, every year, and then you're having your life partner say that you're not a good enough partner. So that's your appraisal for that, and then you see how it's ending, because if you don't do a good job, you're gonna get fired. So
you're fired.
Now you're fired. So I just feel like it's.
But do you feel like they were his expectations, or did you ever like internalize those expectations and think you should be doing the things that he's telling you should be doing, but you don't really feel like doing?
No, I felt that after I had the last baby, my only birth child, that some of his expectations were just unrealistic for what I was going through. He's never had a baby, of course, so you don't know what it's like to carry and just be physically and mentally drained while you're pregnant, and then have the baby and your hormones are just crazy, and you're breastfeeding, and you just, you know things, but until you've lived it, you just didn't know what you had to go through. And I just decided, if it wasn't going to be good for me, and I was going to be the one ultimately paying the price for keeping up with that expectation, then I wasn't going to do it, because I'm the one that was going to be tired, drained, or, put in a worse situation. And ultimately, what he was asking or wasn't important enough than myself. So I put myself before his needs. And
so did that work? Putting yourself before his needs, did that work? Or
well, it worked in the sense that I've learned more about me and myself, but it failed my marriage, just because for that point in time I needed to put myself first so that I could adjust. Like I said, we broke up when Anaya was 2. Now she's, we've gone through the year of separation. Now she's 3. Now it's easier. I mean, and realistically, what he's asking for, or was asking for, is not hard now, because she's a little bit more self-sufficient. Of course, she's not 17-year-old self-sufficient, but she's 3-year-old self-sufficient, and the demands are less, But I chose so when I say I put myself first, really I was putting her first, because I needed to make sure that I could make sure her needs were met, because as baby, infant, toddler, they're totally dependent on you to give them their needs. So I felt, in some ways, it's like I feel we had a family readjustment, and maybe it's really him who couldn't adjust. So yes, I do feel some of my inadequacies, but when I think back to that time and just how I feel now, do I have any regrets? Probably not. But I feel sad that the marriage couldn't work through that.
So you feel like his unrealistic expectations, and you noticed those were unrealistic expectations even then. You put them kind of like on a side burner. You let him have his unrealistic expectations, and you carried on with what you needed to do. You were a mother. You're kind of thrown into the situation. You're a mother. You have your own baby now, your own biological baby, and you see the wonders of that, and and you see the work, and you sacrifice yourself. You put her in first place, and now you're being told that he's moved on, and you're left to deal with it anyway. But I'm feeling like you're also saying that's a horrible thing, but it's almost inevitable, or it's going in that direction anyway.
Right.
So who fired who?
Yeah, I mean, all the other kids, I could say, came almost potty trained. Right. I didn't have to go through the labor. I didn't have to go through the breastfeeding and the being up all night. Maybe a few nights, but not like I did with the youngest. Waking up every couple hours to feed, or just those things that happen. I got to skip all of that with the other kids, and with her, I couldn't. Because she was from the beginning.
Yes.
So maybe essentially we were firing each other in the sense that, because I didn't articulate like that's not gonna happen. I just was like, okay, you have your unrealistic expectations, and I already know what I'm willing to do, and I'm just gonna focus on doing that. But I'm not gonna tell you, because I don't want to have an argument, and I don't want to fight about it. I just need to get through this point in time, and we can deal with that on the other end.
Well, sounds like you have a lot of healthy attitudes toward this. It sounds like you have a lot of healthy thinking towards moving in that direction that is difficult. It's still difficult to get a divorce, and it's still difficult to separate everything. And so I'm wondering if do you have any specific one thought that is nagging at you, that you're that you just can't jump over that feeling?
I think for me, it's just
Mhm.
more along it's just, and that's the unforeseen stuff. It's the, how is this gonna affect my kids? You know, will they, you know, there's all those horrible things you hear about, you know, kids favoring one parent over the other, and it's gonna be so much more obvious because he's got a house, I got a house, you know, and I'd rather be with you and I'd rather not be with you, and those are the things that probably worry me the most. Do I feel some still inadequacies? Yes, you know, it's still a loss. The marriage is still a loss. There is, even if it wasn't my choice, it's still a failure. And that hurts because I feel like I did take my vows seriously and wanted to study the course, you know, through the good, the bad, and everything. And
well, you had personal experience with this as a child. Were there any things then, or were there any thoughts that you may have had when you were going through it as a child that helped you?
well, I always
See
had
the-
my mom. Like my dad wasn't really in the picture, so mom was home base. You know, there wasn't any favoritism because mom was it. You know, dad was not making himself present.
So what's the difference with your children now?
They're gonna have
Two.
two very present parents, which I'm happy about. But I don't want there to be a push of, you know, love me more than that. You know, I keep telling my kids even during this is that I want you to spend time with dad and I want you to spend time with me. You know, I don't have a problem if you want to go and do that with dad, particularly with the son, because he's very perceptive in the sense that he does sense the shift. So if I don't let him do something, I'm gonna go ask dad, and it's just like, okay, well, you're welcome to do that, and you know, but that's kids, you know, in a sense, you can already see it happening. Where if I can't get this from you, I'm going to you, and it's not healthy because me and him don't have the relationship, and are you going to? Would he be the one that's not going to keep the same boundaries because I want to be the favorite parent, you know? And then it just, things like that just trickle because kids need to have that structure and they need to have those limitations. So those are the things that I truly worry about the most. But those are things, again, out of my control.
Some of them are not in your control.
Yeah,
I was just going to say that some of the things are not in your control. And so to work within your sphere, how about if we look at some worksheets that, so it's homework, that just what we need, that would explore some possibilities of the logistics of not only, so we can put down, if the children live more with me or spend a week with me and weekends with him or however you do it, what would that look like? So we'll just write the movie. Go from, if this, then we just go down that road. And then in terms of thinking about, so how will that make you feel? How will that make you feel? Is this something that is congruent to yours? You know you have the logistics. You know you will have to divide time. That's a given. So if you divide the time this way, how will you feel if you divide the time that way? How will that feel? So I'll look for a nice little worksheet for you, and we can go over that maybe next time. Talking about just going down a different road. Going down a couple of different roads and exploring that. Okay. In terms of behavior and how that behavior makes you feel. Okay?
All
right.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. See you next time.
Yeah.